Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get started today, I just want to say a huge thank you for 1,000 subscribers. You guys are amazing. It happened in like 3 days. I can't... Thank you. Today I want to talk about authors I am obsessed with. These are not just authors that I'm like, oh yes, I like them very much. No, these are authors I can't live without. These are authors that I probably stalk on Instagram and Twitter and wherever else they have content. These are authors that if I were to meet them in real life, my reaction would be like, hi. These are authors who I would break into their house just to find the manuscript of their book that's not out yet, just so I could read it to know what happens next. Too much? Too far? Let's get started. Okay, so first up I want to talk about Becky Alberti. I love her writing. I think her writing is so fun. It's so cute. It's so accessible. And I think especially for young, queer LGBTQ youth, it's such a great gateway into making them feel really comfortable about who they are, and just really like opening that door to conversations with their parents. Another reason I love her though is because she's so supportive of the communities she's writing in. She often uses her Instagram and her Twitter to really call out other authors in the queer space as well as the person of color space. She is the kind of person who takes this platform that she's been given and takes all the privilege that she has and uses it for the better to point out people that maybe don't have as big of a platform that should have that platform. Also, she liked my Instagram post about Love Creekwood, and I think I peed a little. Okay, so next up I want to mention Brandon Sanderson, who I mentioned in one of my videos earlier that he is my favorite author, so obviously I'm obsessed with him. Look at the size of this book! I mean, I know size doesn't matter, but... What? You could physically injure someone with this book. Brandon Sanderson was essentially my introduction into high fantasy, and I don't think I would love high fantasy the way that I do now if I hadn't read Mistborn first. Mistborn opened my eyes to what high fantasy could be and just made me really excited about it. I think the reason I love Brandon Sanderson is that, yes, he writes these amazing worlds, both fantasy and sci-fi, and he really likes to build worlds and build rules for like magic and technology in those worlds. But the most important thing in every Brandon Sanderson book are the characters. His characters are so interesting, and there are times where an entire chapter will go by where the character won't even have done anything. We'll just kind of see them like having their day-to-day life, maybe drawing a picture and drinking some tea, but you just get so much insight into that character that you can't help but be like invested in what's happening. He also is the author of Way of Kings, which to me is arguably one of the most amazingly crafted fantasy worlds out there. If you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. It might take you a little while. I mean, it's like 1,300 pages, but read a page a day and you'll be done with it in like 4 years. Does the math of that check out? Who knows? This is a video about books, not math. Okay, so anybody who follows me on TikTok is already gonna know about this one because I talk about her all the time, but Sarah J Maas gets a place on this list. So I actually discovered Sarah J Maas because of TikTok and Book Talk and all of that, and since discovering her, I've become a little obsessed. I discovered her through Crescent City. So you may have noticed this is one of my absolute all-time favorite books, and there's a reason. It's beautifully crafted, the world is amazing, the characters are amazing, and this book has one of, if not the most satisfying, most incredible, most action-packed third act that I have ever read in a book. All that being said, I think what I really love about Sarah J Maas is she just writes really addicting fantasy worlds and characters. She also creates really strong female characters, but still manages to give them lots of flaws and lots of room to grow. I also often dress up as Sarah J Maas and make videos on TikTok. If that's not obsession, then I don't know what is. Sarah J Maas, if you're watching this, please don't get a restraining order. I promise I'm not crazy. I just really like your writing. In the young adult space, there's an author that I always think about when I think about super original voices that I want more people to read, and that is Angie Thomas. The voice in her books just rings loud and clear, and it's so distinct. Now, I am holding on the come up, but I will mention that oftentimes on my live streams, I get asked what book I think should be added to the high school curriculum. And every single time, the book I say is The Hate U Give, which is her book prior to this one. I feel like The Hate U Give perfectly encompasses the current issues in this country when it comes to racial issues and police brutality. And it's a book that I think if more people read, more people would understand what's going on and why so many people are upset. That being said, her writing, regardless of the color of your skin, is incredibly relatable and fun and interesting and heartfelt and heartwarming and moving and thought-provoking and all the things a really great author should be. So far, I've read everything Angie Thomas has released, and I'm excited for more. Like, give me more. I like Angie Thomas. I want to read everything she puts out. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Last but not least, I want to mention an author that has only very recently gotten onto my obsessed list. I don't know why I pointed at my penguin. Maybe because I'm obsessed with penguins. Who knows? That is T.J. Klune. The first book I read by T.J. Klune was The House on the Cerulean Sea, and since then I've read Wolfsong and The Extraordinaries, and so far I haven't found a dud among them. The truth being that T.J. Klune writes in two spaces, and he writes in both of them very well. That being that he writes very good fantasy and sci-fi type stuff, but he also writes the queer side of the fiction very well. The other thing I think that T.J. Klune does really well, as I juggle these books back and forth like a crazy person, is that he's very funny. His humor is smart, but still really accessible. The thing about T.J. Klune is that he's writing queer fiction and fantasy that's just really super accessible. Anybody, even people that aren't necessarily interested in fantasy or sci-fi or even queer literature, could pick these books up and have an excellent time. And I think that is wonderful. All right, guys, those are the authors I'm super obsessed with, but I'm super interested to hear what authors you are obsessed with. To put it in high school terms, these aren't just authors you like. These are authors you like. So let me know what those are in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.